Hello everybody. I've looked at the numbers on this channel. Excuse me. I looked at the numbers on this channel in the last few months and it's been underperforming. And yes, I painted my walls in acrylic paint. Shitty implementation of a sunset in the winter time, so I was going to sand it down and repaint it. I never got a chance to. There's a reason why I'm recording from my bed. When this channel started 2.5 years ago, this was where my office and my craft workspace is. It's changed a lot. The bed used to be over there, and what's over there is my edit bay. It's all the media stuff is in like one spot. There's a lot of things that happened. My first video I posted was me in my what I now look at as the premature midlife crisis, and I did not know that. I was 35 going on 36, and there was something about that turning 36 that I'm now at the point where I've lived longer as an adult than I was of a child. There were parts of me that had some inkling that my 30s was gonna be really bad, as when I was exiting out of my teenage years. I wanted to be wrong, and somehow my intuition was that I was right. And what I spent the last 2.5 years was reflecting really on the things I've written, how I've not been validated, and how little I get from that, that I'm wrong, that I need to be challenged, that my experiences didn't matter, someone else's issues was more important than mine. I am been gaslit so many times. Prior to the start of this channel, I didn't know what masculine versus feminine energy was. I sure as hell knew what narcissistic personality disorder is. And the people that I've attracted over the last 30-something years, I've also witnessed death. I've witnessed trauma. I've witnessed family health problems. I've witnessed how New Hampshire treats our citizens like shit. The old man of the mountain probably got better love than most of the vulnerable citizens in this state. And I've reflected on the channel and the over 100 subscribers I've gotten. Commenters have come and gone. Just people from different parts of the world, from different walks of life. I've never attended this channel to be cinematic. I came from broadcast, and so I wanted to go back to the old school YouTube where people recorded from webcams. I tended to go down marketing quality with the hope that I would go back up. I don't know if that's ever going to happen, nor do I really care. Before me, I'm on a fight in my life to even exist, that my disorder and the experiences of my life are now under siege. they are under, they are, it's a fight to exist, and I don't like it. I feel like it's extortion. I feel that, in order to be seen, you have to vote. In order to be seen, you have to advocate for things you shouldn't even have to advocate for. I don't agree with that. I don't like how our people who are not even from the state originally is dictating what disabilities are supposed to be. And that means people like me. I've noticed in the last 10 years. Now, I was going to do a video, actually a full-blown production of me reflecting on the 10-year anniversary of the markings I did at Hampton Beach in 2015. So in early August of that year, it was after hours because the lifeguards weren't there. I think my mom and I went late in the day. I walked away for a little bit, and I had my DSLR and my iPhone, and I wrote probably on a 40-foot, multi-foot span, the hashtag hopeless autistic. I wrote it very big, wrote it very legible, and I put my signature on the bottom right. A couple younger ladies took a picture of it, but I never saw it online. However, there's a few kids that just ran it like literally within seconds the message got distorted. But I got a photograph, and that photograph would become the fears that I thought would happen did happen. A few months later, on WordPress, I created a blog called 2020 Hopeless Autistic for a Better Leadership. It was a very clunky name, but before you know it, I would be able to simplify it. And what I was writing about was the very, very toxic. It was in the bias of being in a very toxic day program that I didn't even know how bad it was until the pandemic. I was there in the start of 2015, and I left at the end of 2016, in October to be exact, October, November. It was bad. Then in March of 2017, I started another program and another vendor, and I was there for 3 years, literally. My last day was the day of the declaration of state emergency of the pandemic. And they knew what I was going to do. My contract was supposed to be for renewal in April, and they ghosted me. Both of these experiences were pushing people out into the community for 30 hours a week, except for 1 hour of lunch in a confined environment, because the activists had pushed the HCBS and the home and community-based supports in the Medicaid system, which is not to be confused with the insurance, but this is for services and support. Apparently, he was one of the few people on the spectrum that spoke about this, because a lot of the people from out of the country didn't know much about the Medicaid system, and then I had to basically talk about that, and that was daunting to try to talk to a global audience of something that's regional, of people that probably diagnosed their own autism. They're high functioning, they don't really need much support, but they're people with small families, very little social networks. My mother was upper middle class up until January, and now she's working for $20 an hour now. And that is adjusted for inflation of what she would have been making over 20, 30 years ago. Stagflation, anybody? So that's why people are in services, because they don't have the means to be successful on their own. But that's under siege, not just by President Trump or Kelly Ayotte, but the activists have tried to steal things. Now, back 10 years ago, I did foresee by the year 2020 things would go really bad, and it did. The pandemic just distracted everybody for 2 years, but when the state of emergency in New Hampshire did not end until 2023. And the reason that being is that the state of emergency often waives laws. In this case, the community-based supports was one of those things that was waived. And by that time, it's like back to normal. We're just going back 3 years, and we're gonna fall back even more. And it really sucks. I didn't ask to be born. I didn't ask to be different. I didn't ask to be put into this involuntarily group. And I feel so ashamed for existing, because I feel like I'm being limited so I could be more compatible with people in wheelchairs. And again, the Bureau of Developmental Services, that's part of our state DHHS, funds these individuals' services. Now, maybe these people in wheelchairs have a so-called dual diagnosis, but they're not supposed to be here. But they are telling me or implying that my autistic condition is apparently not the right disability. Who's the ableist? Who are the ableists in the room? Who's the one that is gatekeeping who is supposed to get what services when they're not in the business to be doing that? I witness countless judgments. I've seen countless of people treating me in ways that if I treated them a certain way, it would be socially inappropriate. I've been through so much hell. And now as I exit out of my 30s in a couple of years or a year and a half, I am livid at where I am in my life and how I tried everything in my power to turn that around. And I ran out of every option. People in New Hampshire do not want to be held accountable if they're in a position of power. The accountability always goes to the lowest end of the social strata. Which, if you know that in high school and you want to kill yourself, I would probably recommend, if you had that gut feeling, to do it, because this is where we are now. If I knew that adult services was if you didn't have a job and you're looking for a job at a library for 30 straight hours, well, not 30 straight hours, but basically school hours out in an environment where there's kids and adults, older adults and stuff like that, I would like, what the fuck is this? It's so stigmatizing. Oh, and the idea is that people don't ride in big Econoline buses because they don't want to have a stigma of institutionalization. But there's always a loophole to have multiple one staff per client, multiple one on threes or 1 to 3s. I don't like using ratios because I'm tired of being objectified. So that's why I try to use humane language structures. So I say 1-on-1, like one-on-one interviews. You never hear a journalist ever say 1-on-1, right? They don't. And we've dehumanized services. We've dehumanized special education. We've dehumanized the adult services. And a lot of people on the autism spectrum are on various, whether it's DSM-5 or DSM-4, maybe even DSM-3. I like to remind people there is legacy baggage, even if that DSM is not the current version. And that is the unpopular reality that people are choosing to ignore. I'm not going to be seen as a prophet for going to Hampton and crying out for the cry for action. The people that were running the state's leadership, which the Department of Education has been a joke since for years, the Department of Health and Human Services kind of wanted us to not be part of them because they're treated as we're adversaries. The us versus them be various interest groups compartmentalizing parents versus individuals versus kids, siblings versus teachers versus adults. Nothing is united. Nothing is unison anymore. We were the first state in the country to shut down developmentally delayed institutions. We're not talking about psychiatric, we're talking about just strictly the developmentally delayed more than 3 decades ago. And they say, well, we don't want people institutionalized. But how are all these environments still I mean, I was in Portsmouth in the wintertime at the Portsmouth Public Library, and I saw a 1-on-3 group. And it didn't look like they were, well, again, I don't want to make judgment on things I see from the outside, but it looked like they didn't have much agency. But they keep telling you, oh, you have agency, you have freedoms, and you have rights. Really? Then how come it's acted upon as a tyrannical control from the support staff that's like half your age? You want to talk about age gap relationships? You want to know what's more stigmatizing? Having a one-on-one or a 1-on-3 staff that is like 10 years younger than you, talking to you like you're a child. It is so stigmatizing. And people say, oh, there's so much work we need to do. There was the accountability. Why is our press putting the top dogs of these activist groups getting full clearance to get into the letters to the editor or get on the 6 o'clock wheel on the only commercially licensed pirated it's formally licensed, it's pirated, it's a legitimate TV station. It's disgusting. We don't have a voice. All this is a sham, and I don't want to sound cynical, as these are my final words on this channel in a video form. It is disgusting to be told you have rights when you're signing off every fucking year, and it's all theoretical and it's all to the subjective, because one person that looks the rule of the letter of the rule is going to radically interpret the spiritual interpretation of the law, because it's administrative rules in New Hampshire. There's the RSAs, which are legal civilian laws, and then because we're spending our days with a state supported agency, it goes under administrative law. And there's a lot of regulation. People will leave the field and say, oh, the system's so over-regulated, and then they go into activist groups and then they don't hold the system accountable. Only when there's injustice, but not in the injustice that most rational people think. And I don't know where to go with my life. I'm speaking on this as I have an annual contract with my agency next Wednesday, the 1st. And I have to get that done in 6 days because the deadlines. I have to, again, I never, it's like a fucking chore because the fucking Bureau of Developmental Services doesn't really care. They just want to make our lives a living hell so the neurotypical boss bitch can get away with harming the most vulnerable citizens in the state. I don't trust the leadership up there. There's a reason why I don't like going up to Concord. And there's another reason why those people never go outside their offices. Oh, is it because it's their safety they're worried about? Safety of their fucking ego? Yeah, sure. That's why I don't advocate. And that's my prerogative. No one should be forced to advocate if they're not, if their heart isn't in the right way. I'm sick and tired of this. This is the political points. If you go up to Concord, hold up a picket sign, and you just fake your way to say, yeah, we're making social justice. It's like, you guys are a bunch of fucking delusional people. Like, you guys don't deserve this. You guys are literally the reason why the see you next Tuesday bitch is our governor, who then goes to my former day program and gets, literally, she didn't go there by herself. She had her posse, her 3 employees that do PR and comms. There were literally pictures of her, video of her with, I mean, this is not a fucking presidential, it's not a presidential campaign. You're the fucking governor. You've been elected. You don't need to have your comms people there. At my former day program, like, I would have told the manager, get this bitch off the property. She should, I want a town-wide restraining order on that woman. I do not like that person at all. I think she's toxic. She's got venom and political rabies, to be blunt. She's very evil. But a lot of those people that voted for Kelly Ayotte are basically, people, families of people with disabilities, people who work in the system. And I saw it on Facebook, a well-known person that works at the Manchester region said in a Facebook comment in 2023 or maybe 2024, it was before the election, that she would get her vote. That was a person of a significant power in one of the worst area agencies in the state, endorsing Kelly Ayotte as a civilian. So no one's really looking out for you. No one really is looking out for you. And that loneliness and isolation is getting bigger. As I mentioned, I've been through a lot. Layoffs, family health issues, death, in the life of this channel and the Facebook page and the blogs. And I'm heartbroken. I am so heartbroken that there are the people out there that the autism is the largest developmental delay, and people don't care. They're only doing it for their own political gain, their own societal gain. It is such a zero-sum game. And if I don't know how you survive. I don't know how you survive being delegitimized not once, not twice, not 3 times, not quattro, not cinco, but many times. You want to talk about self-advocacy? I'll tell you one thing about self-advocacy. They tell you that self-advocacy is a way to speak up for yourself in ways to get what you want. Something I did not learn in school, because I didn't go to school in New Hampshire from 6th grade to 21. So I'm at the seacoast at a hotel, and the hotel has evacuation for disabilities. Well, what do you do if someone can't see the disability? What happens if you get a fire alarm at like 10 o'clock at night? Do you evacuate? Do you not evacuate? Don't you love it when you hear a fire alarm? It's not it's something I can do when a fire alarm goes off. Okay, there are some people that are so sensitive, right? But for me, I can tolerate it, but just let me know if I should evacuate or not. Or 2 a.m. when I was in Las Vegas, the Mirage got triggered, and it had the recorded announcement, but I'm like, I got out of bed trying to look for my card. I'm looking at the strip trying to see whether to evacuate or not. And believe it or not, that was the first time I heard the fire alarm go off at the Mirage back in the day when I used to go to the NAB show. So fast forward to last fall when I'd be at the coast trying to explain, what kind of accommodations can you provide. I told, this is also the cute chica on the coast. If you follow that narrative, I literally said not to be vulnerable, but and I started mentioning it. it's like, it's literally like giving yourself a death sentence by disclosing your disability. Because the public is not well aware. That's why I stepped down on autism awareness. I doubled down because I'm like, you can't get to acceptance if no one understands. You can't call somebody an ableist if they don't understand, right? And these activists are so effed up in their head, and they're so delusional. They have no right to speak. But when I'm trying to be somewhat lucid, trying to say there is a fucking problem in this state, that you're turning the clock backwards. Is it a frog in a boiling pot? I don't know what analogy it is. But I looked like I had the spikes through my face, like I was a prick, a literal prick. Like if you touch me, I was like a fucking cactus. I know that for sure. I have a reputation, and the bad reputation occurred on my worst days. So I have to have perfect days all the time, which really sucks because that's what competency is at the end of the day. It's measured on your worst day, and apparently I'm emotionally incompetent, and I know I've been gossiped by people in the upper echelon. I know it because I've seen communications. I also know amongst rank and files I've been talked, because again I can be very strong on my views because I care too much, and those people are sociopaths, so everyone's going to believe a sociopath, and so of course I'm the toxic one, even though it might have been 1 hour in a week or 1 day in a month. It doesn't matter. I'm the toxic person. So I have to carry that burden for the rest of my life. As I mentioned, this is my last scheduled recorded video. It's because this YouTube channel has gotten very low views in the last few months, despite occasionally putting some videos here and there. The engagement has teetered off. The Facebook page never, that Facebook page goes back to when the Hopeless Autistic was on WordPress, on their platform, and it's just not worth the time. I'm also going through a huge radical acceptance. You want to talk about autism acceptance? I'll tell you about autism acceptance. I'll tell you a thing about autism acceptance. I'm not worth the words it's printed on. I am not worth the voice on a soundtrack. I am not, and I have a god-awful face for video or pictures. This is the reason why my content gets shared through the Discord networks, other groups, but not in mainstream press. I referred to a Boston media personality who's got a kid on the spectrum, and she's millennial age. She's a millennial age. She's 3 years older, or roughly three years older than I. And this is what scares me too, because the children of our future are now becoming middle-aged people. And she said to me in a DM back several years ago that she only knew the surface of autism before her son's diagnosis. That individual is Jackie Bruno. I never identified DMs. I normally keep them confidential, but I decided to identify her, and I think I've identified her in another video, but just not recently. And if people in the affluence, like a former NBC Universal employee, has that perspective on my group, just imagine other people in the greater New England region. Okay, the Boston area is pretty affluent, well-educated, well-informed people. And if people like Bruno only knew the surface and she's only a few years older than me, that tells me that a lot of the people have a same worldview like hers. And I'm scared of aging. I'm scared of losing my mother. Not that I want to be dependent on her in the first place, but everything that I posted on my personal Facebook over on and off for almost 20 years. I was off Facebook for like over half a decade. I started using Facebook actively 9 years ago. But I was scared that I would lose my grandmother, that family trauma would get worse, drama and trauma, that I wouldn't have new people in my life, a significant other, and all those things happened. I didn't want that to happen. I had an ex-DSP that was like, you just want it to happen. Oh, you call out all the problems, and you're your own self-fulfilled prophecy. It's like just the idea of being fucking challenged. Like I'm at Clemson or at Southern New Hampshire University. It's just like, for Christ's sakes alive, can you just at least validate me once? Do you have to keep deflecting my own reality? I'm not leaving here in a good way. I'm leaving here with the fact that my life is gone. I'm a high functioning autistic. People mistaken me with Asperger's. They think that I could play chess or go to college. I'm as smart as Dave Plummer, that fake autistic from Microsoft, blah, blah, blah. But really, I'm as damaged as someone who doesn't speak. I don't know how else to persuade people to understand I've been through profound challenges, and I don't want to just use that word to just get even with the autism mom audience. I've been through hell, and to be honest, who's out there in afterlife? Normally when someone dies and they go to afterlife, if you believe in afterlife, there's always somebody there waiting for me. Who is there waiting for me past the pearly gates? That's why I feel like I'm in hell anyways. But I didn't ask to be born. I didn't ask to be subjected to everyone else's problems. And what really angers me is that people in power in the state of New Hampshire, that is argumentatively respected as one of the 50 U.S. states, doesn't have the gonads or the girlies, if you know what I mean, to take responsibility of a vulnerable citizen as their own, other than to point them to another group that they think would be more appropriate for them because they don't want to take that responsibility. I don't know how that's not a bystander effect. So what's the future for me? I have no fucking clue. I have no fucking clue where I'm going to be, where I'm going to go. It's kind of back to February 28th to March 5th of 2023. I don't know who I am. I don't know what the hell I'm doing here. I don't know what purpose. I wish I ended my life sooner because I knew that this was going to happen. And I'm tired of being gaslit. I find that to be a felonious abuse. And I cannot believe I did not have on my bingo card that Trump would literally destroy RFK, Trump, do that, that the former manager of my day program would be the head of this activist group. I'm sorry, you're not a self-advocacy group anymore. And I wouldn't think that the former cunt AG was going to be the governor of my state. Not all conspiring to erase me, but a system that falls apart is like death. It's predictable. There's certain things that lead up to that. And the system is dying, and no one's going to admit to that problem. And then many people worse off than me are probably going to get screwed over. But it's some, mild disabled person in a wheelchair will get on with life. But who's going to be their rampant platform? People like me. I'm not trying to minimize their existence. There's other ways that they can get funding and services. The developmentally disabled people are getting screwed over, and we're not supposed to say that publicly. I'm not supposed to say that online, because then I feel like I'm a free state of whack job. I have a few loose nuts. So that's all I'm going to say. I'm going to leave it at that. Thank you to the people who have subscribed to me beyond this country's borders, families. I really don't know who all of you are, where you come from, but I know I've had people who come and gone over the years, the last 2.5 years, and I appreciate it. But I wanted to end it off with how it all began. And it wasn't just 2 years ago, but it was 10 years ago. It was 10 years ago in August. And how I predicted the decline. But that wasn't my intent. It was a cautionary tale. All this was supposed to be a cautionary story. But no one in the powers that be wanted to hear that. They wanted to gaslight me as the problem. And to absorb that emotion is very painful. It's unrecoverable. I've lost 10 years of my life, maybe argumentatively 20 years of my life, and I don't feel like I have a trajectory of things going up, because the current trajectory is they want me dead. Or they want me to be a platform or a wheelchair ramp, or just shut up. It's one of those three things from one of those three types of powers. And you don't really recover from that. It's like literally being electrocuted. You don't really recover. And these people that claim to be educated, I really think they're overeducated, and they're liberal and tolerant. They use all the public radio language, and they literally treat the people that they don't want to confront like shit. You never recover. So these people that have been involved with me have been responsible for our death. Will our Attorney General throw them in jail? No, because white-collar people don't do anything wrong. Even if they make under $40,000, even if they're in an executive or managerial position working with the most vulnerable people, because they had their background checks cleared, so they must be good people. I guess non-sex abuse is not abuse. Gaslighting is okay. Defaming people in HIPAA-compliant records is okay. Okay. Well, if this channel was ever to blow up since this posting, I will be very flattered. But I'm not going to be the same person as I was years ago. And you can't say that we didn't know. Oh, we didn't know because I told you so. That's the last words I'm going to say. I told you so. Goodbye and good luck.